Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's Ask Mama Amy on Senior Care. And today I have two very special guests, two dear friends of mine, Christine Lee and also Karen Van Dyke. And today we're going to tell you about Daughterhood. It's an amazing organization, and they have their 5th year anniversary coming up on September 16th. We'll let them tell you all about it. But before that, give it over to Christine or Karen. Tell us a little bit about Daughterhood and what it is.
Yeah, sure. Daughterhood is a community of family caregivers whose mission is to support and build confidence in women and in men who are managing care for a loved one. And Daughterhood.org was started by Anne Tumlinson, and she does policy work at the national level for how America pays and delivers care to aging adults. She started it originally as a blog and as a website with social media platforms, and since then it has extended into Daughterhood circles, which are small to medium-sized communities of family caregivers that support one another and gather all over the country. So in 2015, Karen and I started Daughterhood Circle San Diego, which was the very first circle in the United States. And since then, it has grown to all over the country, 25 states, and even internationally into Canada.
That is so amazing. That is right around the time when I met both of you.
Yeah.
And can you share a little bit about us, like your roles in Daughterhood, and what, if you have any personal stories, what prompted you to start this circle in San Diego?
Yeah.
You know, we were just talking about that the other day, actually, and we were working on a project that was going to create something similar, because Christine and I both saw the need within not only our own clients, but we were also both caregivers, and I was taking care of my aunt, and I felt so isolated, and I didn't feel like I had the support, and I thought I knew it all, and what I realized, I knew pretty much nothing. And so we were going to do this other organization, and we, by fortuitous intersection, we met Anne Tumlinson, and it was just like that, that we all fell in love, and said, and Christine and I said, and looked at Anne and said, we're going to start the first Daughterhood Circle. And she looked back at us and said, you are? We said, well, yeah, we are. And so we did. We did. So literally, Christine and I are the architects of the Daughterhood circles that are now blossoming all over the country and into Canada.
Wow. So San Diego is actually the first circle in the entire nation.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is so.
We had no idea that was going to happen. No idea, Amy. We saw the need, and that's kind of how Christine and I roll anyway. We see a need and we create a vessel to hold that need, to nurture that need, to care for that need.
I love it. And I remember when I first met both of you, I remember just that entrepreneurial spirit, right? Like you see something that needs to be taken care of and you just plunge forward and you just make it happen. That's so amazing. And so if you could share, and I know Karen just shared a little bit about taking care of your aunt, and would you say that was the main thing? What was the trigger in taking care of your aunt that made you feel like, oh, wow, I don't know anything about this whole thing? Well, if you could just share a couple things that was a strong motivator in getting you involved with Daughterhood and on this whole journey.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I looked at it from the standpoint of, I think sometimes as women, we think we can do it all. We just have that in us. Yes. And I think it's really, really important to realize when we can't do it all, and to create the infrastructure around us that gives us that support. And at that point in time, I had already been caring for my aunt for about a year and a half. And I was failing kind of miserably because I would go to do something for her, and what I didn't realize is that she could do it herself and didn't need me to do certain things for her. And I didn't know how to, I just wanted to go in, take charge, and make it all nice for everybody. And that's not necessarily the way that it's done. It's acknowledging the elder and looking at what their needs are, but stepping back and saying to them, you know, this is encouragement for you to have purpose, because that's what elders are about. That's what all of us are about, is having purpose. And so when I saw what I was doing, I knew that it wasn't only that I was helping my aunt, I needed help. I needed support. And unless I could surround myself with others that were doing that, I was out in the desert on this one. And I didn't like that.
And it's so amazing that you recognize that, because it's a very vulnerable place to be, to want to recognize that I need help. But you were able to recognize. And I really like one thing that you mentioned is, as caregivers or caretakers, it's very easy, especially when we're caring for our parents, or in your case, it's aunt, it's easy to get into a bossy role, at least for me. I want to just take care of everything for everybody. And then, but as you mentioned, the whole dignity and quality portion of things, right? They are just like me. They're just a little older, and they may need help here and there, but they may not, they're still there. And so it's that fine balance of how do we care for them in a way that helps them feel they're well taken care of without being treated like a 3-year-old. Right?
Right.
And that's so awesome that, and then that's where you started thinking, okay, how can I get support? And that's kind of triggered the whole daughterhood thing. And what about you, Christine?
Yeah. Well, professionally speaking, I've been on your show before. So, professionally speaking, I own a home care agency here in San Diego. It's called Casa Companion Home Care. And, but personally, just in my own life, I'm a busy mom. I have 3 girls. They're all under the age of 4.
I don't know how you do it.
Yeah. And then so running a business, and then, of course, being sandwiched, right, with aging parents too. And so, what Karen was just talking about is that, being a caregiver can just be so isolating. And so all of those things that she was just discussing, those are the types of conversations we have during daughterhood, about how it can be isolating. And it's literally, being a caregiver is just one of the most difficult milestones that we're going to experience in our lives. And so that's what Daughterhood San Diego does. It's basically just designed to, to connect, to support, and to sustain us as individuals, as caregivers, as we care for our loved ones.
I love it. And as sandwich generation myself, I can certainly relate to that. My son's just like 4. And so I totally get it, right? Like having to care for the little ones, and then the, our parents, it's really, really tough. And so that's why I'm also so excited to learn about daughterhood and, reading on the website and what it does. It's just so exciting to see that support in the community, and recognizing, as a mom, I know I kind of expected what being a mom would be like. The society talks about motherhood, but not so much for daughterhood. Nobody talks about how to be a proper daughter, taking care of our parents, right? Or the elders. So could you share with us, how has daughterhood helped you? Whether, it's personally, what kind of support have you personally received from daughterhood? Of course, you mentioned you fell in love with Anne. And so could you share a little bit about that? If we could start with Karen, please.
Yeah, falling in love with Anne was kind of an easy thing to do. And if you get a chance to meet her, you'll understand why. I think that, for me personally with daughterhood, so every time Christine and I do a daughterhood, a live daughterhood, where we're connecting personally, face to face, body to body, I can't wait. I'm so excited, because I know I'm going to land in this soft, caring, loving space. And caregiving is probably one of the most difficult things I've ever done. And caregiving for my aunt was all of 10 years. And so there was a lot of learning along the way, but it's self-learning, but most of it is learning from others. And so we have a private Daughterhood Circle page on Facebook as well. So there are times when one of the daughters was in an ER. She's on Facebook with us private, and she's saying, I'm here with mom and I don't know what to do. And we're coaching her through it. Other daughters are coaching her through it, like live, real time.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about Daughterhood, is just, it's one of the most loving places I think I've ever been in my life.
Oh, that is just so good to hear. And having that support and the loving, supportive space and safe space to share and be supported and not worrying having to be judged. Right? There are a lot of police out there. And so that's awesome. What about you, Christine?
Yeah, well, you said it. You said the word. You talked about judge and judgment, and it's completely a judgment-free zone. So I'll give you an example. When you're caregiving for a long time, and let's just say either your spouse or your parent dies, and yes, of course, it's incredibly sad, but there's also, especially if you've been doing it for a long time, I'm sure that Karen can relate to this, there's probably a sense of relief, right? And so, so you don't want to say it out loud, but you can say like, oh my gosh, I'm glad that I'm free of this responsibility, and so you can say that in a daughterhood circle against, because you're amongst people that get it, and no one's going to judge that. It might sound really bad to say that to a stranger, like, hey, I'm glad that my parent passed away or my spouse passed away, but it doesn't, it might sound terrible to come out, but when you're around other caregivers that understand, that have been doing this very hard journey for a long time, it's very sad, but there's also a sense of release there, So really, and personally, you're around other people that understand the journey that you're on, and that's why it's so special.
Yeah, and also knowing that other people are going through similar things with similar struggles kind of makes you feel less alone, right?
Yeah.
I love it. And so how does Daughterhood help the community? You just shared you do a Facebook sort of live support, or what is your format in terms of support? Is it usually live groups, or tell us more about that?
You want that, Christine?
No, go ahead.
So when COVID isn't ruling the world, we meet face to face every other week. I mean, every other month. I wish it were every other week. I would love that. Every other month. And we just gather together, and there's always a bottle of wine in case anybody wants to imbibe. And we usually will have either a chat fest where we all just kind of share what's going on for us. And those are incredibly powerful. Or we'll have a speaker come in, like the speakers we're going to have at Daughterhood Anniversary's 5th anniversary next week. Speakers come in that helps our daughters, helps all of us to kind of understand things a little bit better as it relates to whether that's not only the person you're caring for, but it could be the siblings, it could be other family members that you're having a challenge with that don't quite get it. So we brought in speakers to help understand. Roberta Shaler was one. Dr. Shaler, she talked about hijackals. So we bring in speakers that really add value to the experience of caregiving, so the caregivers feel empowered by that. So we have that every other month. Actually, with the virus, we've been actually doing Zoom every month. And we've still been having speakers. So the piece that's missing, obviously, for everybody is that we can't see, touch, feel, and that's a sad thing for us. But it's what's really remarkable to me, Amy, is that even though we don't see, touch each other or click our glasses together, that energy is still there. Even over Zoom, that energy is still there. It's still a very caring community that is just, it lights up my heart. It just lights up my heart.
I love it. I love it. And it's the emotional connection and the support that even though you can't see each other, but it's still so strong, permeating through the cameras, right?
Yeah.
I love it. Well, so we're so excited about the 5th year anniversary. So can you tell us a little bit about this 5th year anniversary celebration? What is it all about? What is included in the program? And who are speaking? And why should people attend?
Sure, I would love to answer that. So Karen and I started in 2015, which means that 2020 marks the 5-year anniversary of Daughterhood San Diego. And since we were the flagship circle here in the US, we wanted to make it special, right? And normally, like Karen was saying, we would normally meet in person and we would celebrate in person, but with COVID and social distancing, we're going to be hosting and celebrating over a 2-night event over Zoom on September 16th and 17th. It's a Wednesday and Thursday from 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And it's going to be filled with awesome speakers, with Amy, with your being one of them.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so on Wednesday, September 16th, Amy is going to speak about the legal estate planning piece, including, the top 10 tips to get your parents aging ready. And also on that same night, on the 16th, Julie Potiker will present on mindfulness as a way of self-care for caregivers. And then on this night 2, which is going to be Thursday the 17th, we're going to have Elizabeth Mack, who is the founder of Holistic Caring. And she's going to discuss cannabis as medicine for caregivers and their loved ones. And finally, on that second night, we're going to have Anne Tumlinson, who's, of course, like we discussed, the founder of Daughterhood, and she's going to close out the event on Thursday. And she's going to talk about, Daughterhood at 5 years, what we've learned and what's to come in the future.
That is so exciting. And how can people register for the event if they are interested?
So the event is free, but you do have to register. So, you're going to receive an email once you register online. You'll receive an email with the link of the event details. So we'll have you, Amy, link to the sign up page for that for your audience here. And then, of course, Karen brought up a Facebook page that we have. So we have a public and a private Facebook page. And on the public page, anyone can go on there onto Daughterhood San Diego public Facebook page, and they'll see the details on there as well.
That's fantastic. And I'll make sure to post it in the link down below so people can click to it directly. Yeah. And tell us just a little bit, I'm curious, of course, I read all about Anne Tumlinson already online, but for our audience here who don't know who she is, could you just share a little bit about who she is as a person? If you have any personal insight about her, just her stories or just her as a person, if you will. So we kind of put some ideas.
Yeah, she has 2 children. They're actually, they're young adults now. She lives in Washington, D.C. She's been doing policy on the elders and aging population for a very long time. She has her own company. Christine, I can't remember the name, Anne Tumlinson.
It's called ATI, Anne Tumlinson Innovations.
Yeah, Anne Tumlinson Innovation. She does some very, very high level work with a lot of the companies across the board, like Brookdale and Atria and other kind of rehabs, insurance, Medicare. You don't want to miss any of the speakers. And whatever she has to say is going to be at the high level of what's happening in our aging population and what's happening in terms of systems, working, not working, what's coming down the pike. She's presented white papers to Congress. She is one of the most approachable, and she'd be on this Zoom call with us right now, and she would be just one of the girls, so she's really a lovely, lovely human being doing some amazing things. And, all those years of what she's been doing is actually what motivated her to create Daughterhood.org, because what she kept seeing overall was that, okay, we've got the industry and we've got assisted living and memory care and home care. We've got all of those pieces in place, but who's paying attention to the caregiver? And that's why she created Daughterhood.org, because no one was really paying attention to the end user. And so Daughterhood took up that space and started to bring women together so that those end users, we're actually talking about, and this is like brandy new news, we're literally talking about taking a segment of Daughterhood, maybe the daughters that have been with us for a while, and creating some kind of like legislative branch to help further the options that caregivers would have from a legal perspective, because right now there just isn't a lot for caregivers. It doesn't exist. So kind of talking about that right now, and that is really exciting.
Oh, that is so exciting. While you're like actually changing or wanting to change the legal system. That's awesome. And legal system, where we know it moves very slowly and it needs a lot of advocacy, like daughterhood. And you also just mentioned, and well, we have about like 5 minutes left and we're about to close. But I just also wanted to highlight the portion that Karen just mentioned about the intertwining of the legal, the financial, the emotional, and even spiritual of every component of caregiving. It's not just one thing, like, right? And it takes so much of even knowing where to go, right? A lot of the times we don't even know where to get help. And so Daughterhood is exactly the organization. And that's what you do, right? You help guide women who are caring for their parents, at least to know what questions to ask. And no question is dumb question. It's a safe space, right? And to kind of guide people to see, okay, so what resources are available? And oftentimes the caregiver, caretaker are the ones making decisions for their parents, you know, advocating with insurance companies or talking to the hospitals. And they are the one who need to know, like, where to go, what questions to ask, like, how do I know I'm not being screwed over? How do I know, you know, what other questions I need to ask more? How do I know if they're, you know, giving the proper care? How do I know if they're not doing too much medically, right? And so these are all really awesome things. And so before we close up, do you, Karen and Christine, you have anything else you want to add for our audience?
You know, just attend the 5th anniversary and get a taste of Daughterhood. And my guess and my belief right now is that you'll be jumping into Daughterhood the next day.
Christine?
Yeah, we're really excited, and Amy, we're so thankful that you're going to be part of it too. And
Me too.
It's going to be great. It's, you know, outside of just this event, you know, just like Karen said, just to be part of it on a regular basis, it's really special. It's a wonderful group. You'll find there's some good energy and good spirit there. So we hope you join us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Karen and Christine, for being with me today on Ask Mama Amy interview on senior care. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.